What? Oh gosh, you scared me. Caffeinated history. Been a long time since we did that. Been a long time since I had this much caffeine at school. Feeling pretty good about it though. We're bringing back the segment. Let's get started. Let's get into it. Let's jump right in. Talk about Julius Caesar, okay? Julius Caesar's a pretty wild Roman dude. You might have heard of him. I'm not talking about the Caesar salad. I'm not talking about the pizza, okay? I'm talking about the man who almost became the first emperor of Rome. He was a leader, but he never became a king, never became an emperor. That was something that the following leader Octavius did, and he changed his name to Augustus, which is pretty weird because Augustus actually translates to honored one. Imagine being so arrogant and conceited that you're like, hey guys, I'm changing my name to the honored one. You gotta live your life somehow. Okay, anyway, let's slow down. We're talking about Julius Caesar. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from the book Famous Men of Ancient Rome from Greenleaf Press, which is one of my favorite publishers. I think they're wonderful. All right? Now, it's important to remember, at this time, we have something, what we would call in Rome, a republic. Okay? And we have elected officials, senators, who represent the people who elect them in the Senate and in the government. Relatively democratic sort of way to conduct yourself as a nation, and things are about to change here in the next phase of life here. Okay, we're talking around 100 to 44 BC, before Christ, before the Common Era. So Julius Caesar, we see this change, right? Here we go. Of all the Roman heroes, the greatest was Julius Caesar. He was a very remarkable man in many ways. He was remarkable as a soldier, a statesman, a scholar, and an orator. That means a public speaker. He wrote a history of his own wars, which is one of the best ancient histories that we have come down to us. It's called Caesar's Commentaries. That would be cool to read. That reminds me of kind of some of the accounts of Alexander's conquest, but this is actually a little better documented. And it's used as a textbook in all schools back then. This famous Roman was tall, handsome, agreeable in his manners, and of a cheerful disposition. He liked songs, stories, and even sometimes, when he was a great general. He often was merry, and it means like happy, kind of laid back, silly. Sometimes, however, he was stern and cruel instead of kind and forgiving. So kind of a little, there's two sides to Caesar here, right? He was a member of the Julian family, which was one of the first families in Rome. 4 Caesars of the family had been consuls of Rome in 1 century. The aunt of Julius Caesar was the wife of the great leader, Marius. Naturally, Sulla was Caesar's bitter enemy and did all he could against him. In that young man there is many a Marius, Sulla reported to have said. However, by keeping out of Rome, Caesar was able to escape the traps laid for him at Sulla's orders. As soon as Sulla died, Caesar returned to Rome. So he has some enemies in Rome. Although he was a rich nobleman, the word for that we use is aristocrat. He became a friend of the plebeians. Plebeians is a word that means the common people, and always supported their cause. He spoke a great deal in the forum upon political questions, and the people looked upon him as their champion. So he's an advocate of the people, isn't he? He represents the people. We'll see. They elected him to several public offices, one after the other, and thus his influence and power were much increased in Rome. At last he was appointed governor of Spain, which was then ruled by the Romans. See, I told you there was a reason why you should know where Spain was, okay? Around this time, Rome is like at the peak of their power. They own and control numerous territories on the Mediterranean Sea, such as Spain. Poorest villages. Oh, he stops at a city there, blah, blah, blah. He was very successful in Spain. The Romans were so pleased with his conduct that when he came home, they made him consul. What an honor. During this consulship, he had many good laws passed. When he was about 40 years old, he was given command of an army, and for some years followed the life of a soldier with wonderful success. Now, this is some military terminology you should think about. The Roman armies were formed of regiments called legions. Each legion contained over 3,000 men. Interesting. Remember that. recording a video for social studies. Sorry.
Okay.
Who were sometimes called legionaries. The people in legions, which is around 3,000 men, were sometimes called legionaries. Remember it. The weapons of the legionary were a short sword and a long spear called pillium. That's pretty sweet. Besides spears and swords, the Roman soldiers used slings for hurling stones against their enemy. They had a machine called a ballista for throwing stones too heavy for hand slings. The military standards of the Romans was a figure of an eagle borne on top of a pole. So that's like their sign. That's like what represents them. We have flags and whatnot. Each legion had one of these, and the soldier who carried it was called the eagle bearer. That would be sick. I wish I was an eagle bearer. That sounds awesome. Other standards were also used by the cohorts or companies in which the legions were divided. So legions, about 3,000 men, people in legions are called legionaries. They're divided into cohorts, okay? cohorts. Caesar's first great battles were in Gaul. The Romans and all the inhabitants of that country, Gauls, called them the Gauls, although they were from many nations and spoke different languages. The Gauls were brave, but Caesar proved to be a great general. In a few years, he conquered all of Gaul. Look out, Gauls. One occasion, Caesar built a very remarkable bridge. He wanted to get across the river Rhine with his army to punish some German tribes. Smack down. Who were in the habit of attacking his friends of Rome and Gaul. Ain't nobody going to mess with Caesar's clique. There was no bridge. The Germans used to get over in small parties by swimming or in boats. Not very productive. But a large army could not cross in this way without a great deal of trouble and loss of time. So Caesar resolved to build a bridge. Whoop. Look out. Quickly sent his men to work. They finished building the bridge in 10 days, though all the wood had been cut down at the forest and carried to the riverside. One of Caesar's greatest victories in Gaul was taking down the town Alesia. This town had very strong walls around it, and was defended by a great army of Gauls, commanded by a brave chief. And I'm not even going to pronounce his name right, but I'm going to try anyway. It's Vercingetorix. Maybe. Caesar surrounded the town with the army and prevented the food from being sent in, so he's starving them out. Ooh, sneak attack. He also defeated the army that came from over... It's just isn't my day. Speaker announcements, never mind. After many conquests in Gaul, Caesar sailed over with an army to the island of Britain, now called Great Britain. We can use a bit of a British accent for this next point, isn't it? So he goes, and remember, there's a time when he conquers Britain. It's lovely. The natives were wild, fierce people, and they fought bravely against Caesar and his army, but the Romans were victorious, weren't they? And they took possession of Britain, and for over 400 years the island was part of the Roman Empire. End of part 1. Takeaway, Caesar really climbing up the ladder of command and success. He was the governor of Spain. He did some conquering of the Gauls, and he conquered the Britons. That's pretty wild to sail over to Britain and conquer them. We'll pick up on this at a later date. Hope you enjoyed my rambles. Caffeinated History, out.